You took everything from me, brother. Never again.
They say blood is thicker than water, but nobody tells you what happens when blood learns to envy itself. This is not a story about enemies. It is a story about two brothers who survived hunger, loss, and poverty together, only to discover that success can create a wound deeper than poverty ever did. In the village where red earth stained every barefoot step and night arrived without warning, two boys grew up with no one to call father or mother. Their huts sat at the far end of the settlement, close enough to forests that owls cried above their roof at night. It was there that Kene, the elder brother, became a parent before he became a man. He was barely 17 when their parents were buried within the same rainy season. Barely 17 when hunger stopped being a feeling and became a routine. Barely 17 when he learned that love could feel like fear. Kene learned early that the war does not wait for grief to finish. The day after their parents' burial, he tied his younger brother's torn sandals with rope, wiped dust from his face, and walked him to school as if life had not cracked open the night before. Emeka, the younger one, was small for his age, quiet, observant, with eyes that seemed to absorb everything. When other children played, Emeka watched. When others complained, he endured. And when he looked at Kene, there was something close to worship in his gaze. Kene walked anywhere work existed. Farms, construction, loading trucks, running errands for traders who paid in insults and coins. At night, when exhaustion bent his back, he would still sit by lantern, helping Emeka with schoolwork. Read it again, he would say, even when his eyes burned. Sometimes, Emeka would notice his brother's hands shaking from fatigue. "You should rest," Emeka would whisper. Kene would smile and shake his head. "If you sleep hungry today," he would say, "you'll wake up hungry tomorrow. But if you learn today, you'll wake up powerful one day." That was the kind of man Kene was. When money ran out, Kene dropped out of school without drama. No announcement, no bitterness. He simply stopped going. When Emeka cried and begged him not to, Kene placed both hands on his shoulder and said words Emeka would never forget. "One of us must see the future. It doesn't have to be me." Years passed. Emeka grew taller, smarter. His teachers spoke his name with pride. Villagers began to notice. They said he was different, that he spoke like someone who had seen books, not just life. And Kene, who once carried him on his back, watched quietly. He was very excited. When Emeka graduated, the villagers gathered. Kene stood at the back, clapping harder than anyone. Later that night, he saw the last thing their parents left behind, a small piece of inherited land to raise money. When Emeka found out, he was furious. He shouldn't have done that. Kene shrugged. What is land to a man who cannot dream beyond it? That was how the city entered their lives. The city did not welcome them with open arms. For months, it tested their resolve the same way hunger once had. Quietly, repeatedly, without apology. They lived in a single cramped room where heat clung to the walls and sleep came in fragments. Every morning, they walked the streets together, observing, listening, learning how money moved. They did not rush into business. They talked. At night, sitting on the floor with cheap food between them, they argued, planned, disagreed, agreed again. What do people need every day? Kene asked once. Trust. Emeka replied, and someone who can deliver. That conversation gave birth to the idea. They started a logistics and supply business, small at first, transporting goods for traders, connecting suppliers to markets, handling deliveries others avoided because they required patience, negotiation, and follow-up. Kene handled the groundwork. He supervised drivers, managed laborers, dealt with difficult clients face-to-face. He was firm, sometimes rough, but effective. Emeka handled the structure. He wrote proposals, spoke to companies, built relationships, explained processes in ways people understood. He made clients feel safe. They named the business together. They registered it together. They split responsibilities clearly. No hierarchy, no ego. For a long time, profit was modest, enough to survive, enough to stay hopeful. Then came the deal. It started as a small conversation Emeka had with a regional distributor, one of those meetings people usually ignore because nothing ever comes of them. But Emeka listened, asked questions, offered solutions instead of promises. When the distributor complained about delays, theft, and unreliable transports, Emeka did not boast. He simply said, "Give us one trial contract, just one." Kene was skeptical when Emeka told him, It's too big," he said. "We don't have the capacity." "We'll build it," Emeka replied. They sat up all night calculating risk. In the end, they agreed. Together, they took loans, hired more hands, rented trucks, worked day and night. When one vehicle broke down, Kenneth slept at the mechanic shop until it was fixed. When a client hesitated, Emeka stayed back, explaining details until trust settled. The first contract was successful. Then the distributor expanded it. Then others noticed. Money did not rush in at first. It flowed, steady, heavy, undeniable. Payments began to arrive in amounts they had never held before. Their account balance stopped looking like a mistake and started looking like a feature. They stared at their phones in disbelief. They laughed like children. They hugged like survivors. They bought their first cars together. Not luxury, just proof. Later, they bought better ones. Then they bought a large mansion, big enough for both families, with space to breathe, space to dream. They decided to live together, just like the village days, brothers under one roof. They threw parties, invited friends, celebrated wins. They sat at the same table, made decisions together, signed contracts side by side. When profits increased, Kenneth slapped Emeka on the back and said, "We did it." Emeka would smile and reply, "We did it." There was no envy then, only pride, only gratitude, only the quiet joy of two boys who had beaten the odds together. People came and went, but inside the house, they were still brothers from the Red Earth village, laughing, arguing, planning tomorrow like it was guaranteed. And for a while, it felt like nothing could touch them. Success changed their calendar before it changed their hearts. The company grew steadily, contracts expanding, staffs increasing, expectations rising. Their names began to circulate in rooms they once stood outside of. Meetings replaced rest. Decisions came faster. Money flowed more freely. And for a long time, Kenneth was happy, truly happy. They still sat together to review accounts, still argued over strategy, still laughed like boys who had once slept hungry. Wealth had not yet separated them. Then Kenneth met her. It happened without warning. One of those moments that arrived quietly and rearranges a man from the inside. She wasn't loud. She wasn't desperate for attention. She spoke with calm assurance and listened more than she talked. Something about her steadiness pulled at him. For the first time in years, Kenneth felt something unrelated to survival or responsibility. He approached her honestly, told her who he was, told her what he felt, told her what he wanted. She listened politely. Then she refused him, not cruelly, not mockingly, just clearly. "I don't feel that way," she said. "I'm sorry." The rejection sat heavy in Kenneth's chest. It wasn't pride that hurt. It was reality. She was the only woman he had ever wanted quietly, without appetite or possession. And just like that, it was over. He had to let go. Or so he told himself. Months passed. One evening, Emeka returned home smiling in a way Kenneth had never seen before. "There is someone I want you to meet," Emeka said. When she walked in, Kenneth felt something inside him freeze. It was her. For a moment, the room tilted. His mind searched for explanations that didn't exist. Emeka stood beside her, nervous, almost boyish. "She's my fiancée," he said. "I can't marry without your blessing." Kenneth did not know whether to feel angry or hollow. He looked at her. She looked back politely. Nothing more. She had chosen, and she had not chosen him. Kenneth smiled. He gave his blessing. He congratulated them. He stood beside Emeka at the wedding and watched the woman he loved laugh in his brother's arms. And he told himself the same lie again and again. "This is life. I am fine." Outwardly, he was calm. Inwardly, something shifted. not rage, not hatred, something quieter, something heavier. After the marriage, the world's imbalance became harder to ignore. Clients began asking for Emeka by name, not because Kenneth failed, but because Emeka made people feel understood. At first, it felt harmless. Is Emeka around? We would like to speak with Emeka. Tell Emeka we trust his judgment. Kenneth heard it and smiled. After all, Emeka was educated, articulate, calm under pressure. It made sense. Whenever Emeka returned from meetings, he always reported back. Here is what they said. Here is what I promised. What do you think we should do? Kenneth decided. Emeka executed. That balance held for a while. But slowly, something shifted outside their control. At conferences, people assumed. They shook Emeka's hand first. They introduced him as the owner. When Kenneth corrected them, they laughed it off. Oh, of course, brothers. But their eyes lingered on Emeka. When problems arose, Kenneth confronted them directly. Sometimes forcefully, sometimes sharply. And when that didn't work, Emeka would step in, softening the edges, rephrasing, resolving, and it worked again and again. Staff began waiting for Emeka's approval. Even after Kenneth spoke, partners praised Emeka's leadership. Visitors assumed Emeka was the owner. At home, Emeka was happy. His wife glowed beside him. His children laughed. His confidence grew, not arrogantly, but naturally. Kenneth watched all of it, and memories he had buried began to resurface with new meaning. The school he dropped out for, the years he worked instead of dreamed, the land he sold. They no longer felt like choices. They felt like debts unpaid. A dangerous thought began to settle in his mind. I gave him everything, even the woman I loved. That was when jealousy truly began. Not loud, not violent, but patient, quiet, waiting. And in that silence, an idea began to form. An idea disguised as opportunity, a land investment, a future plan, a chance to finally prove something, not to the world, but to himself. Kenneth did not change overnight. That was the frightening part. He still laughed at dinner, still attended meetings, still called Emeka my brother with the same voice. But inside him, something had gone still, like a pond with no ripples, hiding its depths. The land entered his thoughts, the way temptation always does, as wisdom. He first mentioned it casually. I saw something interesting today, he said one evening as they sat in Emeka's office. Paperwork spread between them. A piece of land on the outskirts of the city, not developed yet. Emeka looked up, curious. What kind of land? Commercial, Kenneth replied. Big, cheap now, but not for long. The city is moving in that direction. Emeka leaned back, thoughtful. He trusted his brother's instincts, always had. That could be smart, he said. We have talked about long-term investments. Kenneth nodded, pleased, not excited, controlled. I thought we should see it together, he added, before outsiders catch on. They agreed easily. Why wouldn't they? They had agreed on everything their whole lives. In the days that followed, Kenneth visited the land alone. He stood there for hours, listening to the wind pass through dry grass. The place was quiet, too quiet for what he was planning. He imagined it not as soil, but as balance, a place where the weight inside his chest could finally be put down. He rehearsed conversation in his head. If something happened, if life turned suddenly, would anyone blame fate? He hated himself for thinking this way, and hated Emeka for making him think this way. On the morning they went to inspect the land, Emeka was unusually cheerful. He talked about expansion, about schools for his children, about building something that would outlive them. Kenneth listened. Every word pressed deeper into him. At the sight, Emeka stepped ahead, surveying the land with open wonder. This place has potential, he said, walking farther out. Imagine what? That was when Kenneth noticed how quiet it was. No cars, no walkers, no witnesses, only earth, only sky. For a moment, just one, Kenneth felt panic. His hands trembled. This was wrong. This was unforgivable. He could still turn back. Then another thought followed, smoother, colder. He took everything without trying to. That thought settled it. When Emeka turned his back, still talking, still dreaming, Kenneth lifted the heavy stick he had picked up earlier, telling himself it was just for protection. The sound was dull, unceremonious. Emeka fell without a word. The silence afterward was louder than any scream. Kenneth stood frozen, staring at the body on the ground. This wasn't how it was supposed to feel. There was no relief, only urgency. Fear moved his hands where thought could not. He dug into the earth with desperation, not care. The grave was shallow, rushed, just enough to hide what had already broken him. When he was done, his clothes were stained with soil and something darker. He stood over the ground and whispered, "I carried you once. This is the last thing I'll ever do for you." Then he left. The city swallowed Emeka quietly. When he didn't return home, his wife panicked. Calls went unanswered. Days passed, then weeks. Police were involved. Posters were printed. Questions were asked. Kenneth answered them all, calmly. He looked worried, helpful, confused. He joined searches, comforted Emeka's wife, held the children when they cried. 4 months passed, 4 months of hope decaying slowly, until the day the police sacked everyone down and said the word no one wanted to hear, presumed dead. A burial was held, without a body. People cried over emptiness. Kenneth cried too, and something inside him finally relaxed. But peace is a liar. After the burial, the house changed. It was quieter, not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that listens quietly. Kenneth handled documents alone, took control of assets. Clara moved through the rooms like someone afraid of disturbing the air itself. She spoke softly to her children, kept her grief folded inward, and avoided long conversations with anyone, especially Kenneth. At first, he behaved like a grieving brother-in-law. He checked on them, handled documents, ensured money came in. He called her my sister. Then one evening, when the children were asleep and the house was wrapped in silence, Kenneth knocked on her door. He did not wait for an answer. He stood in the doorway, eyes unreadable. "You are carrying too much alone," he said. "This house is still family." Clara nodded politely, keeping her distance. "Thank you," she replied, "but I'm managing." He stepped inside, closer. "You don't have to," he said quietly. "Tradition doesn't leave widows to struggle." Clara felt a tightening in her chest. "I am not struggling," she said. "And I don't need..." Kenneth interrupted her gently. "I'm your husband's brother," he said. "His only brother." The words hung between them. "In our culture," he continued, voice calm, almost reasonable, "a man does not abandon what belongs to his blood." Clara stared at him. Understanding arrived slowly, then all at once. "You are grieving," she said carefully. "This isn't right." Kenneth's jaw tightened. "I sacrificed my life for that man," he said. "I raised him. I built everything he left behind." He took another step forward. "And now, he's gone." Clara stood up. Her voice shook, but it did not break. "I loved Emeka," she said. "I will always love him, and I will not dishonor him." Kenneth smiled then, but it was thin, strained. "You think this is dishonor?" he asked. "I think it's continuity." She stepped back. "No," she said firmly. "This is entitlement." For the first time, irritation crept into his voice. "You are a widow under my roof," he said. "I have rights." Clara's eyes filled with tears, not fear, but disbelief. "You have no rights over me," she said. "None at all." Silence fell, heavy, final. Kenneth's expression changed. Something closed behind his eyes. He stepped back without another word and left the room. From that night on, everything shifted. The warmth disappeared. The support thinned. The house became hostile without ever raising its voice. Weeks later, documents were moved. Accounts were frozen. Decisions were made without her knowledge. One morning, Kenneth stood in the living room and said calmly, "You need to leave." Clara looked at him, stunned. "This was my husband's home," she said. Kenneth met her gaze, and now he replied, "It's mine." Clara and her children left the house that once echoed with laughter. Kenneth took control of all the assets, even the one that belonged to Emeka. Kenneth told himself it was business, that he deserved this, that life had finally corrected itself. After Emeka's disappearance was declared a death, the city wrapped Kenneth in sympathy. Clients came with lowered voices and gentle handshakes. partner spoke of loyalty and resilience. Stab moved around him carefully, as if grief had made him fragile. Kenneth accepted it all. He wore so like a tailored suit. He spoke of his brother often, of sacrifice, of love, of loss. He allowed his voice to break at the right moments. He let tears rise and fall when needed. People believed him because they wanted to, and business flourished. Contracts stayed. New clients arrived out of pity and respect. Old partners doubled their trust, convinced that a man who had lost so much deserved stability. Within months, Kenneth was running the company alone, and running it well. He expanded. He consolidated. He erased Emeka's presence from daily operations without erasing his name from speeches. "Everything I do," he often said, "I do in honor of my late brother." The words worked. The company grew. Life rewarded him. Within a year, Kenneth got married. His wife was beautiful, elegant, admired. Their wedding was grand. Laughter returned to the mansion. Soon, children followed. 2 of them, healthy, loved, celebrated. Time passed. 1 year, then 2. Kenneth lived fully. Clara and her children were nowhere to be found. They vanished from the city as if they had never existed. Kenneth did not search. He did not ask. He simply didn't care. And far away from the city, beneath a land Kenneth believed had kept his secrets, the earth had refused to cooperate. On a quiet afternoon, a potential buyer arrived at the land with his engineer to inspect it for development. They walked slowly, discussing soil quality and structure, when the engineer stopped abruptly. "Sir," he said, "the ground here, it's disturbed." They moved closer. There were blood, dry, dark, faint, but unmistakable. Confused and alarmed, they fetched tools and began digging. What they uncovered stole the breath from their lungs. A man, buried shallowly, still breathing. They pulled him out in shock and rushed him to the nearest hospital. For 3 months, the young man lay unconscious, alive but absent. When he finally opened his eyes, his body responded before his mind did. He could speak, eat, walk slowly, but he remembered nothing. Mr. Joseph was beside him when he regained consciousness and asked him if he remembered anything, but he said no. The doctor explained it plainly. He had a severe blow to the head, he said, and due to that, he had a temporal memory loss. But he remembered again, but only with time. Don't pressure him, just take good care of him and he'll be fine. It might take longer, but he'll be fine definitely. Mr. Joseph nodded and thanked the doctor. He paid the bills without hesitation. He took the man into his home in Abuja. He made his staff take care of him. They would clean him up and make sure he was well fed, and clothed him. He wasn't pressurized into remembering anything, just patience. Staff cared for him gently. They called him sir, even when he could not remember his name. A year and a half passed. Then one morning, memory returned like a storm. The man jolted upright in bed, heart racing. "Where am I?" he shouted. "What am I doing here?" A staff rushed in. "Good morning, sir. Are you okay?" she asked. "Who are you? And what am I doing here? Where am I?" Emeka asked, confused. "Mr. Emeka, you are in Mr. Joseph's house. He found you buried in a land and saved you. But you lost your memory," the staff replied. The words hit something buried deeper than the grave. Suddenly, Emeka screamed, "Yes, I remember." His hands shook violently. "My brother, he did this to me. He hit me. He buried me." His voice broke into sobs. "We loved each other. He raised me. He was my savior. How could he do this to me? I considered him my God." The staff tried to calm him. "I'm so sorry, sir. It seems you are overwhelmed. You need to rest. Please go back inside and rest," she said, trying to guide him back to the bed. "I don't want to go back inside. I don't even know where I am. Where is Mr. Joseph?" Emeka screamed. Moments later, Mr. Joseph entered the room. "Emeka," he said gently, "I'm Joseph. How are you doing?" "You saved me," he said hoarsely. "Thank you. God bless you." "You're welcome," Joseph replied. They sat together in the living room, and Emeka told him everything: the village, the sacrifices, the business, the bond, the land. When he finished, Joseph was silent, his jaw tight with anger. How could a brother do this? Joseph asked. What did you do to him? Emeka shook his head slowly. Nothing, he said. If I had wronged him, he would have told me. We were unbreakable. We loved each other so much. We have this unbreakable bond. We even live in the same mansion to grow our family together because of how strong our bond is. Joseph exhaled deeply. Then clearly, your bond isn't so strong, because if it was, your brother wouldn't have tried to kill you, he said. But there is one advantage. He thinks you are dead. He leaned forward. Rest. Recover fully so that you can go and reclaim everything he stole. You need to be strong. You are safe here. Emeka nodded grateful. Soon after, Emeka asked for work. I need to stay busy, he pleaded. Let me help you with work. Joseph agreed. From home, Emeka worked with the same dedication that once built his own company. Within 2 months, he secured Joseph the biggest contract of his career. Joseph was stunned. You are a blessing, he said. He paid Emeka handsomely. When Emeka refused, Joseph insisted, that's your share. Then Joseph smiled. I have a surprise for you. Really? What is the surprise? You have given me so much already, Emeka replied. The doors opened, and Clara walked in with their 2 children. Emeka froze. Tears fell before he could speak. Joseph explained everything. I took the time to make some investigation, only to find out that after you were confirmed dead, your brother threw your wife away from the house with your 2 children. I made it my mission to find them for you. She has really suffered a lot just to take care of your children. Tears dripped down from Emeka's eyes. He ran forward and hugged his wife tightly. I have missed you so much, Clara. I'm so sorry. I wasn't there for you, he whispered, but I'm here now. I will take care of you and our children. Hope you didn't suffer so much. Are you okay? Too many questions came out from his mouth. Clara could only cry. She hugged him tighter, crying terribly. We are fine, honey. We missed you so much. I'm glad you're still alive. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Emeka held his 2 children so tight. I'm so happy to see you again, my 2 handsome boys. Okay. You guys are making me emotional right now. If care is not taken, I might start crying with you guys, Joseph said jokingly. Everyone laughed. That was the first time Emeka and his wife laughed in a year and few months. That night, they ate together, laughed together, slept together. For the first time in over a year, Emeka held his wife and felt whole again. And somewhere else, in a mansion built on lies, Kenneth slept peacefully, unaware that the earth he trusted had given back what he tried to erase. 2 years after the earth rejected the lie it was asked to keep, Emeka returned, not with anger first, with evidence. He sat quietly with the police, laying everything bare: the land, the medical reports, picture evidence, attempted murder weapon, the buyer's testimony, hospital records, dates, location. Every missing piece now had a name. Every silence had a witness. When the file was complete, the officers exchanged looks. This is attempted murder, one of them said. Emeka nodded. I know. They drove to the mansion together. Kenneth was at home when the knock came, relaxed, confident, untouched by memory. He opened the door casually, and the world cracked. Emeka stood there, alive, whole, looking directly at him. Kenneth staggered back, his face draining of blood. I thought you were, he began. Dead? Emeka finished coldly. I know. Unfortunately, I did not die. The police stepped forward. Kenneth's mouth opened, but no words came. His knees weakened as handcuffs closed around his wrists. You are under arrest for attempted murder, the officer said. The news spread like fire. Headlines screamed the truth the city had swallowed for years. Brother alive after buried by own brother. CEO exposed in attempted murder case. The company froze. Staff cried. Clients were stunned. Partners felt betrayed. Then Emeka walked into the company building. Alive, real, unbroken. For a moment, there was silence. Then cheers erupted. People stood, applauded. Some wept openly. The man they mourned had returned. The board reinstated him immediately. Emeka took a seat, not as revenge, but as responsibility. Kenneth was charged. The court showed no mercy. Evidence spoke louder than tears. he was sentenced. His wife left him in shame, taking their children away without looking back. And for the first time in years, Kenneth sat alone with nothing left to blame. Emeka rebuilt. The company grew beyond its former limits. Clients trusted again. New partnerships formed. Prosperity returned, but cleaner this time. At home, Emeka spoiled Clara, took her on vacations, dinner dates. He made her feel special. Years later, Kenneth requested to see Emeka. Prison had stripped him bare. "I was wrong," Kenneth whispered. "Please forgive me." Emeka looked at him for a long time. Then he nodded. "I forgive you." That night, Kenneth took his own life. Emeka mourned him as a brother who lost his way. Life continued, and the lesson remained. Jealousy does not destroy loudly. It destroys quietly until nothing is left. Thank you so much for watching this story to the very end. I truly appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share and leave a comment. I really want to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss more powerful and interesting stories like this. I wish you a happy new year, filled with peace, success, and God's abundant blessings. May this year bring you joy, favor, and new beginnings. Thank you once again. See you in the next story. Bye.